So we're going to move on to Jenna now, and Jenna and I have been in a senior advocacy group now together for a couple of years, and you are 100% focused on helping people stay healthy and quickly come back from a surgery or an injury. So tell me why you chose this area and some of the things that make your business super unique.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. So I chose to become a physical therapist because I grew up with a dad that had a progressive neurological disease. And as he aged, I saw him slowly lose his mobility and his independence to no fault of his own. And I spent many years feeling very helpless. Like, what can I do, right? But there was nothing that I could do. His disease was just taking over his body. So I vowed to myself that I would never take for granted my physical abilities, and then made it my mission to help whoever I could, whoever would listen, whoever would let me help, that they can maintain their mobility and their independence. This ultimately morphed into me starting Vitality at Home. I had worked for quite a few years at a large physical therapy corporation and never felt like I could treat my patients with the frequency or the volume of therapy that I thought that they needed and frankly deserved. Our healthcare system is a very reactive system, so somebody has an injury, somebody has an illness, and it's like, oh my gosh, what do we do now? What can we do to make this person healthy enough to go home, right? It has nothing to do with maybe preventing that injury or that illness in the first place. And whose definition is it of healthy, right? Is it the lab values at the hospital shake out and then the person can go home, or you can walk a certain distance, maybe 10 feet, 20 feet, and then the physical therapist will let you go home and say, you're good. And then you get home and you think, well, nobody checked my stairs, nobody made sure I could get in and out of bed. Like, what is this, right? So I just saw that there were huge gaps in our rehab process. There was nothing before an injury or an illness, and there really wasn't anything after the rehab process for people. And I truly believe that being proactive and working on preventing these illnesses for the aging community, the aging community will be much better off, right? So Vitality at Home has these services to prevent the injury or illness. We also have the rehab piece of both physical and occupational therapy to help rehab back from those things. And then we also have the wellness services. So after that rehab piece, a lot of people feel like they're left in the dust, right? Well, they gave us this exercise program and we don't really know what to do with it, or they gave us these exercises and frankly, I think that they're a joke. Like, I can bend and straighten my knees at the counter all day long. Like, this is not helping me get up and down the bleachers at my grandkids' soccer game. This is not helping me lift my suitcase into the overhead bin of the airplane. This is not helping me do the things that I need to do to continue to live the life that I frankly saved for all of my working years. So that said, we also have the unique opportunity to provide our clients with one-on-one therapy in the comfort and convenience of their own home, which makes exercise and or rehab quite a bit less intrusive to people's busy lives, right? We retired, I have so many clients joke with me, like, they never knew what they did before retirement, right? Their schedules are packed. And we tend to put our physical health on the back burner because a lot of times exercise is not comfortable, right? Nobody likes to exercise, it's not fun. So, having us come into the home is a lot more convenient and takes a lot less time. And to be honest, it's the most functional place that you can get an exercise program that will really help you achieve your retirement goals.
That's the place where we need help the most, is figuring out the things that you do on a regular basis and how to get those done. So many people have that perception that declining health and mobility is a natural part of the aging process, much like what you were referring to, Jen, as well. So tell me why you agree or disagree with this and how you convey this to your clients, especially if they might hold some of those limiting beliefs themselves.
Yeah, so I 100% disagree. with that statement. Sure, in the beginning, right, starting at the age of 30, our muscle mass starts to decline and our bone mass starts to decline and our thinking starts to slow down. But those are by no means inevitable, right? So our lifestyle choices really are what drive how we age. So while we do naturally lose things, we do naturally slow down, there is no evidence out there that has to be the case. You can build strength, you can improve your balance, and you can even improve your cognition as you get older. I tell my clients that have very, very negative stereotypes on aging that what your mind believes, your body will achieve, right? So if you have this view on aging that's all doom and gloom, honestly, you're probably right. Your life is not going to be that fulfilled. But if you believe that your best years are yet to come and you wake up every day living out your purpose, you'll thrive.
The first time that she spoke at one of these meetings, she actually, and most of the group, we're probably average in our 50s, and she had us do a bunch of exercises that she takes her clients through. I'm telling you, I was tired. It was tough. And she's like, oh no, you should be able to do this at 80 or whatever. It made a big difference in perception, for sure. So one of the things that you address on your website is that people with chronic pain that have gone through PT in the past and have not found relief are certainly out there. So what advice would you hope to offer patients who fall into this category where, yup, been there, done that, went to PT, it didn't do anything?
Yeah, sure. So persistent pain, or as we commonly know it, chronic pain, is a really tricky thing to treat. There are so many different treatment options out there, and every physical therapist you go to or occupational therapist is going to have a different way of treating that pain. So we understand that pain is not a normal part of aging, right? It's just not. But it is the leading cause of disability in older adults. So as we get older, we stop moving as much, so we have a little bit more pain. So then we stop moving even more, and then we have even more pain. And then it turns into this vicious cycle where before you know it, your pain has taken over your life and you're no longer doing the things that you love to do. So for people that have tried PT in the past and it hasn't worked, I would really recommend give it a second opinion. And honestly, maybe even a third or a fourth opinion, because there is a therapist out there that you will mesh with. Chances are your body just didn't respond to their treatment technique, but that's not the only treatment technique out there. So finding a therapist that can assess your body and determine the best treatment technique for what you need, provide you with a safe and effective exercise program is far more beneficial than you no longer moving and then having more pain and then being afraid to move because you're in pain, and then the next thing you know, you're completely dependent, and then there's no quality of life in that.
Yeah, I know on the website it really talked about that idea of trying to find the source of the pain. And sometimes that's going to take multiple efforts before you can actually figure out what is the appropriate, where it's coming from, and then in turn how to treat it best.
Yeah.
So there are a number of ailments like Parkinson's and even osteoporosis that develop in older adults even when they've done everything in terms of living a healthy lifestyle. So what are some of the specific things that people with these diseases can do to continue to live a full life, and how do you help that happen with the clients that you work with?
So while there is no cure for diseases like Parkinson's disease and osteoporosis, there are so many ways to manage the symptoms and slow the progress of those symptoms, right? So exercise is a vital piece to this and something that people with these diseases can control, right? a lot of times we get slapped with a diagnosis and we're told this is going to happen and this is going to happen and this is going to happen, and you're just looking at this like downward spiral like, oh my goodness, what do I even do about it? A safe and effective exercise plan can really give you the empowerment to take whatever diagnosis you've been given and just roll with it, right? Know that as long as I'm doing whatever I can do to manage this disease, I'm gonna be okay. That said, when we're speaking about Parkinson's disease in particular, I think it's really important and beneficial even to speak with a therapist to know that, just because you have Parkinson's disease doesn't mean you automatically lose your muscle strength, right? Parkinson's disease does not take away your strength. It's a neurological disease that actually makes your movement smaller, okay? So if you catch it early and you get on a really good exercise program that incorporates strength and power and balance and endurance and flexibility, you can slow down the rate at which your symptoms start to come in. The other thing that we do a lot with our Parkinson's patients is train the caregiver or train the spouse or train any family member, friends, whoever is there with them on what to say to them in order to trigger improved mobility, right? So with Parkinson's, sometimes it's as simple as saying, hey, step big, take a big step. Stand up with a lot of effort. There are a lot of tips and tricks that you can externally tell these people that can improve their movement substantially. The key is to catch it early and to be consistent with the exercise programs and make sure that the exercise programs are at the level of intensity that they need to be in order to make a difference. Speaking to osteoporosis specifically, again, we hear all the time, my doctor gave me this diagnosis of osteoporosis. I can't do anything anymore. I'm so terrified to walk outside. I don't want to trip. I don't want to slip. I don't want to fall because the doctor told me if I fell, I'm going to fracture my hip and then I'm going to end up in a nursing home. That's really, really detrimental to a person's psyche, especially when you have osteoporosis, okay? So yes, your bone density is decreasing, and yes, you are at a higher risk for fracturing those bones if you do fall. But what if you had a strengthening program that strengthened your muscles so much so that it could actually improve your bone density and decrease your risk for falls? And oftentimes we see when somebody has a really strong exercise program, that turns into confidence, empowerment, and then it's no longer like, oh gosh, I can't go outside. It's like, what are we gonna do next? Because I know that this activity is actually gonna help my bone density, right? So things like weightlifting, things like jumping, right? All help your bone density. So, when we have these clients that receive these diagnoses and become terrified with, oh my goodness, I'm gonna fall, I'm gonna end up in a nursing home, we really do work closely with them to understand what their goals are. What do you want? What do you want this to look like in 10 years? What do you want it to look like in 20 years? And as we were talking earlier, what if you live to 100? What do you want this to look like? What do you want to be able to do? And then we move backwards from there and empower our clients to be able to do those things eventually through exercise.
Yeah, I think that idea of reducing these limiting beliefs is so powerful. So in this Netflix special on the blue zones, one of the things that I watched last night actually was in one of the blue zones that was Sardinia, I believe, actually the age of the residents, the older ages correlated with how steep the area that they lived in. So this is a really mountainous area, and believe it or not, there was the largest concentration of the oldest people in the steepest areas, where these people had to do steps every single day simply to get their groceries and live their lives. And that was really interesting to me that made such a difference. So much of remaining healthy is simply doing many of the things that we already know to do. mean, I don't know about you guys, but I know the things that I should do on a daily basis, and I also know the things that I do on a daily basis, and they are not always the same. So tell us more about your concept of health coaching for older adults, and specifically any personal stories that you can share of adults that you have worked with that started out feeling like maybe they couldn't do something and ended up realizing that they really could.
Yeah. So I believe that everybody, no matter what your age or what your stage, needs a health coach, right? I completely stand behind it for exactly the reasons that Laura said, right? We all know what we should be doing, but we don't really do that. So with our clients specifically, we work with older adults, 55 and older. Health coaching helps our clients quiet the noise, quiet all the health noise that they hear from the media and from the internet and from the magazines that they receive. And we help them hone in on the healthy choices that they need to make in order to achieve their individual goals, right? Everybody is so different, and everybody's aging process looks so differently that what works well for you as far as healthy choices isn't going to work well for your spouse. It's not going to work well for your neighbor, right? So it's really, getting to know our clients on a level of what is it that, getting back to what do you want your last decade of life to look like, okay? And then we reverse engineer the process. Okay, so if you want to be able to go hiking at 80 years old, you need to be able to do X, Y, Z now in order to get there then. So we take a look at a person's current health status, we take a look at their lifestyle, and we really tease out their goals, and then we develop a program that's realistic for them. This program starts as an exercise program, and then it can morph into providing other healthy habit tips and tricks and accountability. So things like stress management education, sleep, nutrition, all those types of things. So we work with a wide range of individuals. So we work with that 96-year-old whose goal is to literally just live in their own home for the rest of their life, to the 64-year-old grandmother that wants to continue to vacation with her daughter and her children and go swimming and hiking while they're on vacation. So one of my recent clients came to me having tried everything. And when I tell you she tried everything, this woman had a treadmill in her home, a stationary bike. She had more exercise equipment than the YMCA, all dusty, by the way. She had every exercise book, every exercise DVD, and all of the exercise programs out of her prevention magazine, right, that claims to have better balance in 15 days or, improve your strength. So she had all this stuff, but nothing was working, right? So she came to us frustrated because she felt like she wasn't able to keep up with her grandkids anymore, and she was terrified that if she could no longer carry her suitcase throughout airports, she would have to start traveling. And in her retirement, her grandkids and her travel were the most important things to her. So she went through the first step of our program. We got a really good idea of what her goals are. And within 2 weeks, she was emailing me telling me that she was already starting to feel strong. Fast forward 3 months, and she's telling us that she has more strength and more energy than she's had in years. And at 74, she just came back from a trip in Europe with her sister, where she schlepped her suitcase all over the place and went on hikes that she, honestly, even before starting the program, had the idea of I can't hike anymore. Who does this? And she did it.
So how does that feel to you guys? Are you starting to just feel empowered that you can do this, that whatever those goals are, that whatever life you've envisioned for yourself, you can truly make that happen? There are ways to do it, and it all starts with, there's no one right answer. It's a combination of the physical things that you do, what we put into our bodies, what we do socially as a support system, our belief system, our faith system. All of these things work together to help us to age well in the way that we probably all desire to age to some degree. So Jenna, thank you so much. So we're